I'm going to invite my friend Olivia DePablo. Get up here, Olivia. To introduce herself. In case anybody is in need of Spanish interpretation tonight, she is here to help with that. So I'll let her introduce what she's doing.
Yeah, thank you. I was chatting. I'm sorry. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Olivia de Pablo Lopez. I am the Language Justice Coordinator under the Plata for Equity Coalition. I'm also an independent contractor to do interpretation and translations. And I wanted to thank the City of Durango again for opening up spaces to promote language accessibility. We may not have today anybody who might need interpretation, but if you do, please let me know. I'm going to be by that door, and I'll be happy to provide you with equipment. Thank you again for allowing to open up these spaces and be able to speak the language of our hearts. Soy Olivia de Pablo, estoy aquí para traer información en español, para poder promover la justicia del lenguaje. Déjenme saber si necesitan ayuda. Muchas gracias. Thank you so much.
Okay, my name is Clancy Nixon. I'm a community engagement specialist for the city. Thank you all for coming tonight. Like I said, we're discussing the educational component of this is all about capital improvement projects, and you can see behind you we have some boards with some of those projects listed on there. We'll get into that in a second. I hope you all had a second to sign in. It helps keep you all informed of what's coming up next as far as our community engagement efforts and public meetings, surveys, that type of thing. And then at the end of tonight, we ask that y'all fill out a survey, which there's QR codes at each of these tables, telling us how you think we did. It's really helpful for us shaping these experiences for all of you as community members. So again, thank you for being here. I'm going to turn it over in a second, but just to give you an idea of how these forums work, since I know a couple of you are new to this, is we'll have about a 20-minute presentation about the capital improvement projects, but that topic changes. We have these every other month, fourth Tuesday of the month, so your next one will be in July. And then after the presentation, we'll do a quick question and answer session regarding the presentation. From there, we'll do a breakout session where we have all of our departments represented this evening, so you can mill about the room, meet the folks who are here representing each of our departments, learn about different projects, initiatives, things like that are going on, ask them questions. But then also tonight we have a specific question, which we'll get to here after the presentation and the question and answer. So we'll wait on that, but that's kind of the general outline of this evening. And I'm going to turn it over to Devin Schmidt, our Chief Financial Officer for the city, and she's going to run you through the presentation all about capital improvement projects.
Excellent. Thank you, Clancy, and thank you everyone for being here this evening after a holiday weekend. Hopefully you all got to enjoy. So yes, as Clancy mentioned, I am going to talk to you all this evening about how we manage our capital improvement projects, how they're prioritized, and as she mentioned too, we do have the department table set up in the back. You can see they are listed starting with 1, so they are prioritized by staff, and I'll explain a little bit of how those prioritizations work. And so as you're milling about the room, take a look at those different boards and presentations back there and let the departments know, yes, I agree, this seems like a great prioritization, or maybe this should be differently placed on here, and here's why I think that. So, and with that, the City of Durango is a mission-driven organization. We provide outstanding services for the entire community. We aspire to be a multi-generational community, which is authentic, diverse, thriving, and environmentally responsible. And we're grounded by our core values of teamwork, dependability, professionalism, service, respect, innovation, and well-being. So as Clancy mentioned, we do want to hear from you this evening or tonight. So I wanted to put this up here. If you do have a smartphone, you are able to scan this QR code. This is going to take you to our Engage website where we have those projects listed, and you're able to rank them. I'll also have that up again at the end of the presentation, so don't rush to grab your phone now. So as we're thinking about our capital improvement projects, and you drive around Durango and you wonder, gosh, how did that rec center get there? Or why do we have Chapman Hill or a pickleball court? Or why are we paving this street? Or why are they tearing up my road to do water and sewer projects? First, we need to think about how a capital project is defined. And so a capital project is any permanent addition to the city's assets of major importance and cost. It's generally of $50,000 or more in value. It's a 3-year useful life or more. The cost of planning, design, engineering, construction, renovation, demolition, equipment, and studies are all considered part of the capital improvement project. When we're looking at capital improvement projects, there's also operating and maintenance cost, and those are evaluated and considered as part of the prioritization for each project that the city undergoes. All projects should be based on the needs assessment performed by city staff to determine the benefit of the asset compared to its cost. And some examples would include construction of a new structure, reconstruction of an existing structure, so repaving the Animas River Trail is a good example, or any renovation that exists or extends that useful life. So when we're thinking about how a capital project is evaluated, first and foremost, there are the master plans that each department utilizes as their starting point in their guiding document. Obviously, council direction is critical as part of that prioritization. And the strategic plan is really that pointing document that is helping start off that CIP prioritization. So after all of those master plans are considered, council direction is given, the strategic plan, then we start looking at how to evaluate these projects. So there's 2 things that we do systematically across the city. And so when we're looking at the City of Durango's outcome budgeting proposals, we are utilizing the following evaluation criteria. So we're providing the community with an overview and a background. So is this capital project maybe going to be in my backyard, or is this something that I'm able to utilize? We're looking at the financial analysis. So if we do this project, what does this do to projects down the road for fundings? And I'll get into the funding specifically here as well. What is the strategic plan alignment? So how aligned is this project with our existing strategic plan? The timeline analysis, and that's really looking at how long is this project going to take from start to finish, whether that's design, studies, all of the different components to it. Any project reporting, and then public input history. So has this project been through a focus group? Have we had a community meeting specifically about this project? And then project strengths, weaknesses, and mitigating factors. So we know as the city, if we are putting forward a budget recommendation to council, they can understand what staff analyzed to get the project to that point. And then the prioritization criteria, you'll see this on every single one of our adopted budget proposals. And this is where staff is looking at different criteria around whether or not this is expanding a new additions. So that ranks lower than if it's asset preservation or if there's a health or safety issue. So health or safety is going to have the highest ranking, then asset preservation, then expansion. Some projects can be mandated by a state or federal government. And so if that's mandated, that's going to have a higher ranking criteria. If there's strategic plan alignment, so it's not aligned, partially aligned, or fully aligned, that's also going to add points to that project. And then timeline. So if the project is a standalone project, it doesn't have a situation where we need to regrade a road, but yet we need to pull up the water and sewer underneath that as well and replace those lines while we're in there. That standalone project ranks a little bit higher as well, since it's not factoring in with other projects. So looking at kind of a flow chart of a life cycle of a capital project, it really starts with that staff input into the master plan. The master plan you can see in kind of that very dark green has all the opportunities for public input along the way of the life cycle of the capital project. So there's the master plan, then there's design prioritization, design cost estimates, Then there's more staff input, which is that prioritization I just went over. Then we're looking really now the project is ready to come to budget and finance and move through those pieces. So after that, you're going to see what we call an invitation for bid. So that's where we're trying to get the best dollar with taxpayer money for any project. So we're putting that project out to bid so it has open and fair competition. It then would come to the Financial Advisory Board for a recommendation from that team. After that, there is the budget public hearing and council meeting. So that's really when the project has gone through all of those different steps and is ready for consideration of council. And then should council approve that project is when it would come to construction and then obviously project completion. So that's a little bit about that, kind of the life cycle and where those opportunities for public input exist. Okay, so talking about my favorite is the funding. So how do we fund these capital projects and where does it come from? So the city has about 30 different funds. We're gonna just stick with a couple today that are very capital in nature. And so a special revenue fund is what I'm going to explain first off to you all. So we have what we would call, or what's for consideration tonight for you all, is 3 capital special revenue funds. So first off is the 2015 fund, and this, or known as the Recreation Complex Trails Fund. This was voted originally back in 1999 and was reauthorized in April of 2015. And this is really for parks and recreation, multimodal projects and operations. So that was a voter approved initiative. That is a half-cent fund. The other half-cent is the Street Improvement Fund, and this was approved by voters in 2019. And these funds can be used for any street improvements or street maintenance projects. And then the 2005 Open Space and Trails Fund is to account for 50% of a 1/2 cent, so it's a 1/4 cent. And this was adopted by the voters in 2005, and those revenues are utilized for acquiring parks, open space and trails, and maintenance. And this is a tax that does sunset in 2026. So looking at all 3 of the different special revenues together, you can see how that sales tax has performed from 2019 to the current year, as well as what we are forecasting for the out years. So I'll just let that sit there just for a second. I don't want to read all the numbers, but you can see in some cases where we have the half cent, it's around $5 million a year that the city collects. On the 1/4 cent, it's obviously going to be half of that, so about 2.5 million a year. So looking at that specific ballot language for the parks, open space, and trails, this is discussed in here where you can see that, and I'll just talk about what it can be used for. So this is used to finance preservation, acquisition, and maintenance of natural lands, including but not limited to the land to preserve water quality in rivers and streams, wildlife habitat, land for hiking and biking, and creation of maintenance of parks and trails, with all program expenditures first being submitted to a citizen advisory board. So that's our financial advisory board. And so I'll just stop on that one. But I think sometimes, when you read in the paper, you have some folks that may ask, why is the city building another pickleball court, but we aren't spending money on childcare, for example? It all comes back to where the revenue originally came from and what the voters approved. So we can't take this money and use it for any other purpose than what is on this ballot language. So that's why it's so important that we always come back to that. And so for our 2015 Parks and Multimodal Recreation or Recreation Complex Trails, this language is discussing if we can utilize the funds for construction, operation, maintenance of recreation facilities, parks, trails, pedestrian and bicycle improvements, maintenance facilities used by the Parks and Recreation Department, and urban forests, with all expenditures going to a Citizens Advisory Board, which is our financial advisory board. So just to kind of give you an idea of what these funds have supported in the past, you can see Durango Mesa Park is on there. You can see some ADA projects have been done. The River Trail, of course, is a good example. And some of the projects at Lake Nighthorse have been supported by both of those funding buckets. And now looking at the 2019, the ballot language says funding for construction, operation, and maintenance of streets, alleys, curbs, gutters, sidewalks, and related street improvements, with again, the bringing that to the Financial Advisory Board. And some more recent projects that this fund has funded is the County Road 250, 251, and North College Drive are two projects, examples. Okay, so diving into our enterprise funds or our water and sewer capital projects, these are dollars that come from ratepayers of water and sewer services. So same situation here where we have, you go and you turn on your faucet, that is a ratepayer fee funded. The bigger difference between these two is that this table represents the forecast for all of our revenues for water and sewer. However, staff first ensures that we can cover maintenance and operation by any available revenues or existing fund balances. And then after that, we're able to do any capital projects that are balanced accordingly to the fund. So that is the major difference between those two, is that you do have an operating component as well as a capital component to it. So just some examples of some projects that were funded by water. So that's going to be anytime we do a water line replacement or do any repairs. Sorry, my clicker didn't want to work. And some examples of our sewer, where we have the sewer treatment plant that is paid for by a loan out of sewer that we were able to secure a few years ago. So I also wanted to provide a couple other opportunities where you are able to get involved and have your voice heard around the City of Durango's capital projects or the budget in general. So this is our budget timeline. You can see all year, you can come to engage forums, you can come to regular city council meetings, provide public comment, Financial Advisory Board, provide public comment there. And then there's also project-specific meetings, and following that Connect and Engage website will notify you about any of those public meetings that you may want to attend. In April, we had public comment on our strategic plan. In May, we are here, we're at the Engage Forum, which is talking all about capital projects. In July, the Financial Advisory Board will be hearing about the capital projects for 2025 and taking any input. My team also does go to the farmers market, where we like to just try and meet with locals. We're just trying to look for another way to engage and connect with you. We'll also put out a budget survey, so anything that you want to provide on that budget survey is helpful for us. In October, we'll have the first public hearing on the proposed budget. November will be the public hearing and adoption of ordinances on operating and capital. So that's where the budget is no longer in a proposed state. It's in a state where council is considering adopting it. December, we'll have the final or the second reading on our budgets. And then after that, my team works together and we put together and adopt a budget. We submit that to the Government Finance Officers Association for the Distinguished Budget Award, and we also submit that to the Department of Local Affairs for their consideration. So those are just a couple different options as well for you to get involved and share your comments about any of the capital projects that we are putting forth in the budget. And so with that, I'm going to give another plug here for Clancy to please do our survey. So if you could scan that so we know how we can do better. And then the two on the left are the ability for you to be able to participate and engage on any of these projects. If you want to add anything else.
I don't think so. Well, yes, actually I do.
Okay.
Thank you, Devin. Yeah, so on one of these where we say provide your input online, who has been to the Engage Durango website yet? All right, a few of you. It's pretty cool. But if you go there, We have a bunch of projects that we're working on at the city where we're asking for community input. This is a great online tool for all of these funding pools. You can go through and pick your favorites and what projects you would support as far as our prioritization goes. So I would check that out. After we're done with our Q&A, I might get back on here and kind of walk you through that. But it's a great spot to provide your input if you have to leave early and you can't do that here in the in-person setting. And then this other QR code, like we said, is that survey to let us know how we're doing on these forums. So with that, we're going to open it up for a quick Q&A. It'll be about 10 minutes of question and answer, and then we'll do our breakout session. So does anybody have a question regarding the presentation? I just want to stick to the presentation and be respectful of everybody's times. If you have questions for departments that's off topic of what you just saw here, then please hold those questions and visit with folks at the table. Yes, Buck?
Kevin, the quarter-cent tax, I thought I heard some language in there that indicated that money could be used for impacts on our waterways.
Yes. Let me jump back to that. So it's this section here, right here.
Where I'm going with this is there are stormwater issues that directly affect the Animas River via Lightning Creek. So I'm wondering if some of that money could be used to facilitate design work for better sediment capture.
It potentially could. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I got another one for you.
Okay.
When's the city gonna complete the pipeline to bring water from Night Horse up to the water treatment that is vitally needed?
Looking at Ms. Baker, our Public Works Director.
That's work in progress. We're coordinating with local stakeholders on that.
Any other questions? Wow, really? Okay. With that, we're gonna do the breakout session. So if you look behind you, all those funds that Devin walked you through, we have a board for each one. So we have the 2000 fund priorities for 2025 and so on and so forth. So what we're asking of you is to provide your input, look at the list of priorities. They're in order from highest priority to least highest priority on the board. And so if you want to look at that and provide your input to the folks standing by and let them know if you agree with the list of priorities in that order or not. It's basically the feedback that we're looking for. You can also do this online, but we would love to have conversations with you about each of these boards. So that's what we're up to back here. That's why you see the extra boards tonight. If you're not interested in providing feedback about capital improvement projects, you think we're nailing it, right? Then feel free to visit other departments and get to know our departmental staff. Do y'all want to introduce yourselves? We'll go around the room real quick.
Jose Madrigal, City Manager.
Bob Bremer, City Manager's Office.
Scott Shine, Community Development Director, back here tucked in the corner, because we don't build a whole lot of stuff, we just make sure stuff that's built is done right. Scott McLean with Parks and Recreation.
Kelly Schmidt, Parks and Recreation Director. Kelly Jaycox, Parks and Recreation. Rachel Hart, Parks and Recreation.
Luke Alvey Henderson, Parks, Just Kidding Library.
Tony McCary, Airport Director.
Sarah Hill, Transportation Director.
Allison Baker, Public Works Director.
Bonnie Kling, Human Resources Director.
Janine Schmidt, just interested citizen.
Elliot Pitts, Finance.
Bryce Current, Police Chief.
Zeta Fail 911 Director.
Skip up, guys. Who else here?
Justin Carlton, IT Director.
Ben Florian, Chief Deputy Clerk in the Clerk's Office.
Or not?
We've got Evan way in the back.
Tom. And Tom, oh, hold on, you're fast.
Tom says
I
he's
didn't
not.
know. I didn't know. There was two.
Evan Ron, IT.
Tom, PIO. Anybody else?
I know. Okay, feel free to get the food in the back. Thank you all so much for coming. I hope you stick around and give us your
Good job, Joe.
thoughts.
Fantastic.
Very, Mr.
I always wanted to know that about Capitol